Hi,
Steve, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Yeah,
All
you
right.
hear me?
Yes. We'll start in 2 minutes.
That's all right.
Do you like my shirt? I don't eat my
That's,
pals.
that's nice.
I want to show you some stickers before we start the interview. End suffering, save lives, protect the planet, live vegan.
Vegan, cool. Vegan.
It says, because they are worth it.
All right, cool.
These are bumper stickers. We don't eat animals, we love them.
Oh, that's really cool. Great stickers.
And this is for your car. Honk if you buy organic, like organic produce and stuff.
Nice.
And this one is eat better, drive whatever. Eating animals equals climate change.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I was in Oakland a couple years ago. I mean, 2 years ago. It was like a some kind of vegan event, but it was all organized by people of color. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah, and this here's a postcard. Oh my God, vegan for Black Lives Matter, and this was in Oakland. God, I forgot where it was, but it was all like people of color. There was like vegan soul food, and there was all kinds of shirts, and I got this too, vegan for Black
Oh wow.
Lives Matter, and also another one, vegan for Black Lives Matter. But these are
Nice.
postcard, not stickers and stuff. Hey,
Oh okay.
by the way, I think you might have to adjust your camera because your face is cut off like this.
Oh shit. How do I do it? Oh, I know what. Will it go
Yes,
like
yes.
that? Is that better?
Oh no, no, no. You're sideways now. You turn the
Oh,
camera. Cool. Yes.
hold on. Let me see if I can put it back like this. Hold up. Oh, let me do it like this. Hold up. Try and get it like that. It's because of my.
Cool. All right.
I'm trying to get it to stand up. So it
Okay.
stands sideways on this.
You take your time. I'm gonna do the introduction while you're doing that. We're interviewing Steve from Liberty, old anarcho punk band from the '80s. They're still around today. Actually, many years ago, I had your 7 inch, I had your album, I had your live cassette, demo tape. But you know how it is when you move around, friends borrow stuff and they never give it
Yeah.
back to you. I don't have anything except for one CD by the Liberty. But when I was very young, Liberty was a big inspiration. But Liberty was what made Liberty so different was you were so militant, like so like hard, like really fucking hardcore, and on the live tape too. I want to mention this. Okay, we're gonna go step by step. On your live
Yeah.
cassette tape, you were mentioning a song dedicated. I think it was you or Mark. I don't know who it was. This song goes out to Ronnie Lee. You were dedicated a song to Ronnie Lee, the founder of, oh gosh,
And
what,
Oliver.
Band for Mercy, that Animal Liberation Front
Yeah.
prisoner. Tell me about Ronnie Lee. Did Ronnie Lee ever found out that you dedicated a song to him?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but obviously he was a very inspirational person in the UK.
Uh huh.
Massive organisation, especially during that time in the early '80s as well,
Uh huh.
when sort of the whole sort of anarcho vegan punk thing came about. Yeah, so he was a huge inspiration for a lot of people.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Ronnie Lee was a founder of Animal Liberation Front, right?
He was the founder, I believe, or one
And
of the co-founders. So
he was in prison for 10 years.
he was.
Wow. Yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook and stuff. That was really amazing because not that many people knew who Ronnie Lee was back then, except for if you watch the Animals film documentary and all that
Yeah,
stuff. And also, Liberty had a very strong, very, very strong stance toward animal liberation. Because when I had pen pal in the 80s, all the punk rockers were sending me literatures and support group. They were like crazy photos of like butcher shop getting smashed, paint
yeah,
paint throwing, and all that crazy stuff. I mean, not I shouldn't say crazy, really fucking radical, direct action stuff and all that. But we don't see those anymore, like how we used to in the '80s. They're not in the news anymore.
No, I think it's probably kept out. A lot of it's kept out of the media. Mm-hmm. It probably still goes on. I'm sure it still goes on, but I think they try and keep it out of the media to keep the highlight off of it. So,
And also, before we go to your 7-inch and LP, back to your live cassette of Liberty, there
yeah,
was a song that go, "Smash apartheid, smash
yeah,
apartheid." You guys were chanting, "Smash
that's
apartheid."
as Falls Rush In.
Yes,
That was on the 7th.
and you, I think it was you or who said something like, "Hitler's and boot boys." Oh fuck, I forgot. This is so long time ago. I don't even have this live cassettes anymore.
That cassette was recorded live in Norwich in 1986. It's still available online. You can still get the whole gig online. You can get Conflict and I can get AYS as well at the same gig.
Oh really? Wow. Since you had such a strong stance even towards fascism,
Yeah.
you were saying on stage, this is not enough, stand up and fucking fight or something. Did you actually, in the old days, got into physical confrontation, brawl with fascists? Can you tell us some of those
Yeah.
stories?
Oh God. Different times back then. You basically knew who your enemy was. I mean, a lot of people would say they were skinheads, but they weren't skinheads because that's a real insult to true skinheads. They were boneheads.
Yes, boneheads, because real skinheads weren't racist. Yes.
No, so boneheads. Probably a lot of them come out of football. They were recruited at football grounds.
Right.
And in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, a lot of punk gigs got smashed up in the UK. Obviously, they took dislike to a lot of left-wing bands, and then like Crass got a lot of trouble off them. And then the one band that really stood up to them were Conflict. And we toured a lot with Conflict, played a lot with Conflict. So yeah, so we had a lot of run-ins in many, many different towns in the UK.
Right. Like some of the, I mean, two stories for example. Like give us some stories, like full-on brawl.
Okay, so before I joined Liberty, my ex-girlfriend at the time was doing some stuff with Conflict, so we used to go around Conflict a lot, and I was doing sort of roading and stuff like that. There was a gig in a place called Ipswich, which is about an hour out of London. It was Conflict, Liberty, and AYS, and they were playing at a West Indian club. Turned up there, and a massive gang of boneheads turned up. In Ipswich, there's a band, and I think this band is still around, called Condemned 84.
Yes, I heard of them. Yes.
Very, very, very right wing. They turned up. They decided they were going to cause trouble, and they basically took on more than they could chew, and they got smashed out of the venue and smashed down the street.
Wow, like full on brawl.
Yeah, full on brawl.
Wow, that's
just one example. We played in Lancaster with Conflict, and same sort of thing happened. They turned up, pushed their way in, and it was full on again. Police were called, but yeah, not very often we come off second best.
And these folks cannot be reasoned with or talked with back then, huh?
No reasoning. No reasoning with them.
Yes.
They only understand one thing, and that's violence. And people say you can't fight violence with violence, but unfortunately, that's all they know. That's all they understand.
I read in the old fanzine something like somebody from Liberty was saying sometimes the violence is the only language they will understand or something.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yes. I remember that. I remember that though. Also, let's talk about your 7-inch. I have a picture here online. Right here.
Yeah, it's called Our Voices Tomorrow's Hope EP.
Yeah, tell us some stories behind this.
We were fortunate enough to obviously know Conflict quite well. And Colin Jerwood had a record label called Multi-Hate. So he offered us the chance to go and record the 7-inch to start with. 4 tracks. The first track was a song called As Falls Rush In. You were talking about the anti-apartheid thing, Smash Apartheid.
Yes, Smash Apartheid.
That song. It's got a different start on the single. We talk about Northern Ireland and the troubles in Northern Ireland.
Yes, it's been so many years. Tracks. Right.
Yeah. It had that. It had Our Voices Tomorrow's Hope, which was the name of the EP. It had Suffer No More, which is the animal rights song. And a song called Wake Up as well.
Who was doing the poem? The one goes, wake up. That poetry.
That's Mark.
Oh, that's
That's
Mark.
Mark. Yeah.
And this artwork right here.
That artwork there was done by a guy called Chris, I believe, a friend of the band's.
Uh-huh.
It's
What?
basically it's a policeman policeman, and it's a miner. Because during the mid 1980s,
Uh-huh.
there was a massive miner strike in the UK,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
and that's what it depicts basically.
Right. And well, you can't see it, but on the 7-inch, there was a big fold out.
Yeah, that's right.
And you guys were saying stuff like it was against drugs and against
Yeah,
pacifism and stuff. You were speaking. Was Liberty a straight edge band, or was it just against hard drugs?
really hard. Yeah, I mean, like we all drank,
Uh
so
huh.
we drank alcohol, but we just felt that drugs like heroin and even people sniffing glue, it just defeated the object basically.
Uh huh.
And, it was sort of people do that and they're no longer a threat.
Uh huh.
I'm sure like the system would love people to all be spaced out and whatever.
Right.
So then there's no trouble, there's no threat. So, but yeah, we was against that.
Was that like a big problem in the 80s in the UK? A lot of punk rockers doing drugs and stuff.
Not I don't know. I mean, obviously everyone does, or a lot of people do drugs.
Uh huh.
Let's say there was a big scene of glue sniffing in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, just wondering because on your album, then you have a song called, what was it called? Fuck Off, John.
fuck off, you junkie bastards.
Yes, fuck
Yeah,
off, you junkie bastard. I was going,
yeah.
when I first heard that, I was going, whoa, is this like an anarcho straight edge band? I thought you guys were all
No,
straight edge or something, man.
I think basically we just got really delusioned with some people.
Right.
The people who were so-called into punk, into anarchist punk.
Uh huh.
Yeah, the cover of that's a shot from Northern Ireland. Yeah, it's on that album. Yeah, so
I
we just got really disillusioned with them.
Uh huh. Wow. This album is so powerful, very very powerful album. But I have a complaint on this album. I had it, my
Yeah.
friends had it. The only complaint I have on this album was there was no lyric sheet and there was no song titles. Was it like that with all your records? Because
No,
my
I think originally there was a lyric sheet that come with it
uh huh.
on the vinyl, because it came out on vinyl obviously first.
Right. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Because all my friends, we had the album. There was no lyric sheet and there was no song titles. Even my friends
that's
who
really
had it.
weird.
Yeah, there was.
So obviously it's been repressed. It's been gone onto CD. Yeah,
Wow, I never heard that because even the only lyrics was on the back cover. So I was thinking,
yeah.
were they in a hurry and they just printed and stuff? But tell me
No,
about
there wasn't. Go
okay
on. Sorry, you go.
for people who doesn't have this album. It's called "The People Who Care Are Angry," and it's
Yeah,
really hard. You and Mark switching vocals back and forth, back and forth. But here's what's really interesting because it was in the '80s. You guys
yeah.
had saxophone players on some couple of the songs.
I think
Uh huh.
I think that album was way ahead of its time, and that's not being big-headed, but to open an album up with a piano track
Yes, the piano track.
with there was four of us. There was me,
Uh
there
huh.
was Mark, there was Colin, and there was Sean from Exit Dance doing the lyrics on that song.
Oh shit, that was Sean from Existence.
Yeah,
I do recognize Colin's voice on that when he was singing, but I didn't know that was Sean from Existence.
yeah.
Wow, interesting. Yes, that was really good. Piano.
And yeah, so we done that. We did have a brass section, and it was the guys who were in a band called Pig Bag. Had a sort of quite a major hit in the UK in the 80s. We were just trying to think up different things or different ways of just getting words across, rather than the same three chords.
Wow. What was the name of the album again? Future Alone. The People Who Care Are Angry.
Christian
What
Care Angry,
what year did that album came out?
1986.
1986. I want to ask you a question because on one of your songs, I think it was either you or Mark were saying, "Marriage is sex as shit," or something like that. It's 2020. Do you still believe in that? Are you married now, or
Oh, look,
are you still
I've,
against
I've,
marriage?
I've, I've been married for a long time. I'm separated now, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I mean, it's women. No women should have to put up with any sort of abuse. Not in any form. So
Okay, because I was just
I
wondering.
think most of the songs we sung about then, and some of the songs we still do, obviously, we
Uh-huh.
still do Suffer No More.
Yes.
We still do Diluted Rebellion.
Uh-huh.
And there's probably a lot of the songs there we'd like to still do again. We try to do again, but normally we only have sort of half-hour set, 40-minute set. So
Uh-huh. Yes, I was asking about the marriage thing because back then a lot of punks were against marriage, saying it was institutionalized, very sexist, handcuffed to the sink. So I was wondering because like as the year goes
yeah,
by,
I mean,
people change
I
and
think
stuff.
obviously there's a lot of people out there who still treat women like that.
Uh-huh.
But
Right.
I've never been one. I've never been one. A lot of people, most people I know, have never been like that. So, but there are a lot of people out there who still treat people like that.
Yes, that's
And
that's
during this
true.
during this lockdown,
Uh-huh.
this current lockdown, there's been so many cases of domestic abuse in England.
Oh wow, yes. I read it online too on the link about the domestic abuse and stuff. How do you think that domestic abuse should be dealt with if we know somebody or our friends or somebody we know keeps abusing partner? How should we deal with folks like that?
Well, probably there's only one way to deal with it, isn't there? I mean, unless you don't want to go to the authorities, and it's really confronting them.
Cool, that's awesome. Because here at shows and stuff, if something happened, we won't let them in the show, and we'll talk to the partner if they need to stay anywhere and stuff like that. Now back to that album, I have another question too. On the piano poetry, you guys were saying no more backstabbing. We might be playing again, and you're not. Was there a lot of
Yeah,
problem at that time in the '80s? Was the punk rock scene splitting up, or what?
yeah. Well, it all went sort of not different ways, but obviously you had the anarcho scene,
Uh huh.
which was the do-it-yourself scene. Then you had bands like, I suppose, like the Exploited, uh, like that, who sort of just were in it for, well,
Anarchy,
yeah,
anarchy and
they
chaos.
wrote,
Yeah,
yeah, basically, yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I was just wondering, it was a prime. The anarcho punk scene was prime in England in the '80s. It was huge. What the fuck happened now?
People grow up, people get older,
Uh huh.
people have to people have to live their lives.
Uh huh.
It went a bit more underground
Uh huh.
for many years. Some bands stayed around, some bands didn't, and some bands have reformed, like ourselves.
Oh, but did it get passed to the next generation, to the youngsters, or anything like that?
Well, I think obviously, yeah. I mean, there's still, there's bands around now that are coming through the anarcho scene still, who are much younger.
Oh, okay. All right. Here's something interesting too. You were in conflict for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Excuse me. And I remember it was on the ungovernable, no, not ungovernable for turning rebellion to money
yeah.
live, right? The live album. You were dressed
So
as
I've
you were dressed as a police officer on the photo. Am I correct? And you were acting like
I
you were,
didn't do it there. I didn't do it there at Brixton.
that was you, right? On the photo?
No, it wasn't me. It was somebody else.
Oh, I thought that was you. So you never dressed.
No, I've done that on many gigs
Uh huh.
before that, but there I didn't. It was a guy. It was a guy in a band called from Derby in the UK called City Indians. He done it that night.
Oh, City Indians. I remember
Yeah.
them. Oh, okay. My friend Taco just texted something. It says, "What are current anarcho UK bands?" That's from Taco.
Uh, Probably pretty much what has been around for a long time. Anthrax, Conflict, Exit Stance are back, uh, Active Slaughter, Armored Flu Unit, many bands.
Uh huh.
I mean, the guys in Liberty have got other bands as well.
And Mark, what happened to Mark, the other vocalist of Liberty?
Uh, Liberty split up back in 1987. I got sort of disillusioned with it, and we split up, and we all went our separate ways. Mark, the guys reformed again in 2005. Mark and Mick and Del met up and decided to get back again. And Mark wrote an album, Just Talking Reality, which came out, I think, in 2009. He stayed for a while. That's the one, yeah.
So you're not on this one, the new one, huh?
No,
Yes.
no.
This one is pretty good, but the only thing I didn't like about the whole digital computerized stuff, I like the more 80s cut and paste. So you could tell it's all like digitalized.
But you got the lyrics, though.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mark come back, and then one day he just decided he'd had enough of it, and he went again. But occasionally, he'll turn up at a gig and he'll get up. We played at a pub in London called the Bird's Nest a few years ago. We've got 6 in the band now. Well, we had 7 up that night on a tiny little stage, and it was really amazing. When he does turn up, it's great fun.
Wow. I have a question. Why is it like a lot of times, especially with UK anarcho bands, when the bands break up, like the members, why do they leave the scene as well? Like they get delusioned and leave.
I think basically get disillusioned with it, maybe.
Okay.
Nothing changes. I think, that's the whole thing. I mean, we sing all these songs, but I mean, nothing does change, but it can change individually for people. You can live your life how you want to live it.
Right.
But people do get disillusioned with it and just fall out of love with it, I suppose.
If you don't mind me asking you, what kind of change were you hoping to see? It freezed up.
It's about everyone. It's about equality, basically. For me, there's enough money. There's enough money in this world to go around for everyone. No one needs to be homeless, and no one needs to go without food. But it's the way money's distributed in this world. The 1% own 99% of the wealth, and I just, for me, that's just wrong. And I suppose where there's injustice, we'll always as a band, we'll always have something to say about it.
Do you think things got better now compared to the 80s with the whole animal rights movement, vegetarianism and veganism and all that?
Well, obviously vegetarianism and veganism has become very big overall, worldwide, especially veganism as well. It's a lot more highlighted now. People many reasons why people do it: health reasons, ecology, obviously the animals. So I think, probably now it's bigger than what it's ever been.
And right. And also the apartheid's over in South Africa, right? It got over in the early 90s. That's all the songs you sing about.
It did get changed, but whether it's any better over there, probably not. I mean, there's probably still white racists over there who probably don't like the black population.
How about with the racism and stuff? People nowadays are more aware, and more people stands up to it and everything. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I think people are more aware.
Stick together.
It's a different animal these days. I mean, back in the 80s, as I said, you knew your enemy was because they wore beer boots and flight jackets and they had swastikas and whatever. So they had a skinhead look, but they weren't skinheads; they were boneheads.
Right.
The far right these days are more just normal guys, I suppose. There's the casually dressed. In Europe, and probably to some extent here, there's still that sort of hardcore of boneheads. Especially in places like Sweden, in Germany, Poland.
What were you doing when Liberty took a break? Because you were gonna take a break from all the scene and stuff. Just curious.
I got married and lived in New Zealand for a while and.
Oh wow!
Had kids.
New Zealand. Wow.
Yeah.
What made you come back to England? Excuse me. What made you come back to England and do Liberty again?
Well, I had an illness, and quite a serious illness, a life-threatening illness, and I got over it.
Oh, good.
And me and my son, me and my son come back here, and I was only going to stay for a while, but I stayed a bit longer than what I thought, and come back and done one gig.
Right.
One gig turned into two, and then two gigs turned into whatever.
Oh, cool. Now you're like totally doing Liberty before all this lockdown happened. Okay, I'm sorry for asking you this, but I have to bring this up because I've been talking to some of the older English punk bands. Do you think a lot of the older English punk rockers, I mean, not just English, just a lot of old punk rockers are having health issue and stuff like that now because of all the heavy drinking, smoking, and all that, or
Possibly, possibly,
just
yeah,
wondering because a lot of
yeah.
the older, I mean, I respect a lot of the old, all the stuff you guys did, but I just trip out all the time. People have health problems because like drinking was a culture back. I mean, it still is in England, right? It's normal to drink and all that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay, just wondering. Because,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to judge anybody, but I just want to know, like, all these bands had so much powerful message of liberation and stuff. But I was
yeah.
wondering why they didn't talk about self-liberation from smoking, from putting poison alcohol in the body. No one ever talked about self-liberation, but it was all like
I
outside
suppose, I
liberation. Just
suppose, I mean
wondering.
that. I suppose I don't know around the music scene. That was part and parcel that went with it. I'm not saying that everyone smoked, but drinking certainly was. It was a drinking culture, and it was in clubs.
Wow,
So
okay.
like people went to clubs to see bands, and they'd smoke and drink there. And obviously now smoking's banned in a lot of places inside, but
Right.
people still smoke outside. So it's just an individual choice, you know. So it's
Yes. Since you're back in the Liberty, who is still in the Liberty from the album?
okay. So there's Mick the guitarist, Mick Harrington.
The original guitarist.
Yeah,
Wow, that's cool. I love his guitar sound.
and there's Dale, our drummer. He's still there.
And then you
And
got
we
Luke to sing too, right?
Luke's another vocalist, yeah.
Right.
And we've got another guitarist, Nath. And we've had a bass player for the last 15 years, Mark, who's just long suffering and long serving. He's just left due to personal reasons.
Okay, okay.
So we're looking for a bass player at some stage.
I noticed Luke is a martial art black belt. Do any of
He
the
is.
do any of the Liberty have martial art background?
No, I don't think so.
You don't have
I've
martial.
got a black belt. I've got a black belt, but I only wear it. That's all. So
Oh, okay, okay. Just
no,
wonder.
Luke is very much into martial arts. Yeah,
So
very much so.
Liberty don't have no martial art background except for Luke.
Yeah,
Where did you learn all your street fighting from the '80s then? When you used to
I
brawl
think
with
I,
boneheads?
I think it's just a case of having to.
Oh, just you picked it up on the street. I'm guessing.
Well, it's just a case of having to because if you don't, it's either punch or get punched.
Right.
Simple. It's that simple equation, really.
All right. So tell me about the new Liberty now.
The Liberty. Well, Liberty now is like it was six of us. Myself, Luke, Nath, Mick, Del, and Mark. I think back in 2015 we recorded another single that come out on yeah, it's part of the Fox package. Basically, there's 9 singles that made up a picture of a fox. Various different bands.
This this quote came from the Liberty. This banner drop. This is
No, that backdrop was a conflict backdrop, but
But
that's Mark.
did Conflict take it from Liberty quote? This is
No, conflict. That was a conflict single.
Oh, okay, okay. No, I was talking. Oh, okay. This is not enough. Stand up and fucking fight. Somehow I thought that was like the Liberty quote because somebody
No,
said that on a live tape. So I thought Conflict took it or something. But it was
no,
confusing because you were in Conflict a
yeah,
little bit as a second vocalist,
yeah. Oh, just backing and stuff like that. Yeah,
and you did vocals on Forster Service, right?
yeah.
And there was a Liberty part on Ungovernable Force of lyric. It goes, that music, punk rock. Wow, was that
That's it. Yeah,
Piss in the Ocean?
that's Mark.
Was
Yeah,
that Piss in the
it's in
Ocean album?
the
Or?
ocean. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we done the Crash song as well.
Yes. Oh, do you remember Tammy? Tammy from
Yeah,
Nature Core?
yeah.
Yeah, I talked to her on Instagram yesterday. She said hello to you.
Oh, yeah.
Tammy
Hi.
from Nature Core. She lives here in America, but a long time ago,
Oh,
many
yeah.
many years ago, she sent me a picture of you and Mandy
Yeah,
from like the 80s and stuff. So before
yeah.
all this happened, what are you doing now besides the band? Tell us about the whole punk scene in UK and England.
It's pretty much what it is. I mean, there's still bands around from a long time ago, and bands like the UK Subs. You've got Charlie Harper, who's probably 73 now,
Uh huh.
still gigging.
Uh huh.
Uh, a lot of bands. I mean, we haven't played many gigs, and with what's happened recently, we haven't had a chance. So this year's probably written off for us. We'll be looking for a new bass player.
Uh huh.
We was due to go into the studio to do a single, which we'll still do at some time.
Uh huh.
And then next year, see what comes.
I know like a lot of people also burned out going to protests and stuff, but were you were you still attending demonstrations and rallies, or did you burned out from that as well?
What now or?
Yes, because before this happened, I've been reading a lot of climate change rallies and going on in England and stuff like that. So,
I admire those people, but it's not something I do. I just don't see the point of it because I think you get taken down streets where the police want you to go. It was the same in the 80s. They marched you where they wanted you to march.
oh, right, right. And the difference is in England, police don't carry guns. So in the 80s, you guys used to like riot at shows and even fight and chase police off. Is that true?
No, they don't carry. Well, they do carry guns from time to time. They don't all carry guns, but yeah. So, but yeah, it's one of the countries that don't in the world.
Okay. David Insurrection has a question for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you ask Steve the following question? I was lucky enough to catch your very first gig in Glasgow in 2004 when you made your return to the live arena. What motivated you to put the band back together after so many years? And how does the scene today differ from when you were first active in the 1980s?
Right. Okay. Well, I wasn't in that gig because I wasn't back there in 2004. So that was Mark and Mick and whatever else. I just felt they probably still had something to say, something valid to say. So that was the reason for getting back together.
And he said, "What?" And finally, why did Mark leave the band?
Due to personal reasons, I think. Mark decided he'd had enough and he wanted to go off and do his own thing. He's done some travelling.
Oh, what is Mark doing now? I mean, before the lockdown.
Mark is, I don't know what, I haven't spoken to Mark for a while, but he lives in London still. Musically, I think he's done some of his own stuff.
Right.
A bit different, but yeah, from time to time we see him.
Tell us some of the 80s story. What were some of your favorite show and memories from the 80s, the Liberty shows? Favorite memories.
In the 80s.
Yes.
We played in 1986. We played an anti-apartheid show at the Hammersmith Clarendon Hotel with Conflict and I think X6 Dance.
Danber No Bacon was on in that, Bill, by any chance?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. Yeah. We played with Chumbawamba in Leeds University. That was a great gig. Yeah. We played, I mean, most of our gigs, we played with Conflicts a lot. We played with the Icons of Filth a lot. We played with Exit Stance and many other bands as well. But always great playing with those guys. Still knowing them now as well. Sadly, we lost Stig from the Icons.
Yes. They still rest in paradise.
Yeah.
How was the show back in the 80s? Like, was there like booth setup, literatures and stuff, banners? Like,
there's still that, yeah.
Tell us some stories about the 80s shows. Like, how were they?
Well, depends where you went, but normally things like the animal rights movement had like stands set up with literature, with T-shirts for you to buy and to donate money. I think Colin had a venue called The Crypt in Deptford, which was like under a church crypt. We used to run a club there. That started off really well. We had record sales there. We had food, vegan food. Probably now, that probably still goes on. Probably, if anything, the shows have got bigger in some respect. In some bands, anyway. Where bands wouldn't play bigger venues, some bands are playing bigger venues now. And if you look at Rebellion,
yes,
which is up in Bristol, as you know,
I saw
we've
it
never
on
played
YouTube.
it.
Okay.
I've got no inspiration to play it.
My friend Taco wants to know, how are people in Chumbawamba, and how did people from the anarcho-punk scene feel when they got famous for a hit?
I think a lot of people thought it was wrong. But people change, and people try and do different things, and obviously it was a big hit for them. It sort of came out of nowhere, and yeah. So, but yeah, I think a lot of people were against them. But people have to grow up.
I have a question too. In the 80s, we're not talking about anarcho-punk, just regular punk scene. Do you think compared to punk scene now is bigger than the 80s, or was the bigger 80s much more bigger?
I think, well, I don't know. I think probably the 80s it was more widespread.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was probably more bands about in sort of in the genres that were there.
Wow.
And now, I mean, I'm not saying it's not now, but I mean, it's changed now. It has changed.
Wow. Because it's different in America, because then America in the punk scene, when the UK bands come, they go, wow, there's big festival. We don't play in a huge festival like that. I don't know. Just different story in different country. Maybe it's different in England. That's interesting. How did you get into punk rock?
Probably because I think I grew up. I was born in the first record I bought was a band by a band called T-Rex in the 70s, glam rock,
Whoa,
and then sort of David Bowie.
you got into punk in the 70s then?
Yeah,
Wow. Did you ever see Sex Pistols?
no, I've never seen the Sex Pistols. See the Clash, see the Damned, see Susan the Banshees,
Wow.
Ruts. I was at school when it all kicked off with like the Sex Pistols and bands like that. And it was just really exciting. It was just for me, the whole rebellion side of it.
Then from punk rock, how did you get introduced to the anarcho punk?
I've been to see a few bands, and just down the road from me, I live just on the outskirts of London. There's a place called Epping, and I see a band playing, advertised playing there called Crass. And they were playing at some little hall, and I went there as a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, whatever. And that's the first time I ever met Steve Ignorant.
Wow.
And he was really, really chatty. And I was just in awe of it, because I walked in there was all these banners. I've never seen anything like it, and it was just amazing. And I got talking to Steve, and 40 years later, we're still friends. So
Wow. How was it like seeing Crass back then? Like,
that was really intense, really intense. It was just full on. Everyone wore black, basically, just about. It was all black clothing. It was all the banners. It was the noise. It was just incredible. Very small venues as well, normally.
really? Wow. Speaking of banners, like in the 80s, a lot of different punk bands have banners, but every time I see Liberty photos, I never see Liberty banners. It's always Conflicts banners in the background.
Banners.
Wow.
We did have banners.
Really?
Whether they didn't get put up on it, I don't know.
Because, yeah, every time I see it online, it was always Conflict banners in the back. I go, where's Liberty banners and stuff?
We've still got a Liberty banner somewhere. A couple of Liberty banners. We do use them occasionally.
So with the Liberty, how come Liberty never came to America? Even when you guys got back to 2000?
I think we was due to, and then we split up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then you got back together and stuff.
Got back together, but that was a few years after. That was, I think we split up in 1987.
Right.
They got together in 2005, I think, 2004, something like that. So a big gap.
Did Liberty... Right.
No, you go, sorry.
Did Liberty ever tour?
We've done some stuff, like we've been to Ireland, we've been to Scotland. They've been to, before I joined, they've been to Paris, they've been to Finland.
Wow, interesting. So when this came out, you said it was 2004, right?
2005, I think it was.
2000.
Oh no, it wasn't. It was 2009. 2009, I think it was.
Wait, were you the one who mailed me this, or was it Mark?
I think I sent you that.
Yes, that was you who mailed me this and stuff. So, did it ever come on vinyl or anything, or just CD?
No.
CD only?
Just CD.
Wow, that's interesting because in the 80s, the record distribution was like more wide and stuff. I didn't see like this CD in any other record stores and stuff. It was, I guess, more DIY.
It was DIY. It was in a few record stores here.
Wow, that's interesting. So, okay, tell me before the lockdown, what was Liberty doing before all this happened? The new Liberty.
Because as a band we live quite in very different areas. Two of the guys, Luke and Nathan, live in Southampton, which is about an hour and a half out of London, I suppose. We don't rehearse very often, but we were rehearsing. We had 2 songs ready to go to record a single, just about.
Oh, really?
And then we got locked down.
Wow. New songs?
2 new songs.
On the new stuff, what do you write about now?
Pretty much about a lot of stuff we've written about before, about how boys, there's no profit in peace. We got a song called Through My Eyes, which is about drones.
Drones?
Drones, how the British and American government are using drones to basically drop bombs on people in the Middle East.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought yeah, drone. That drone. Okay,
And,
wow.
yeah. We got a song about football,
Soccer.
soccer.
Yes.
It's basically about saying how modern football is just a money-making scheme.
Speaking of drones dropping bomb in the Middle East, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. By the history, because there's a lot of Islamophobia going on in England as well. Didn't the old days, if I'm correct, didn't Islam pull Europe out of the Dark Ages?
I think it probably did, yeah.
Like with the whole doctors and like surgery equipment and like
Yeah.
university and stuff and all that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff come out of India as well. A lot of good things come out of India, and
Just
the
wondering.
problem is you talked about Islamophobia. There's too many people here living in the Dark Ages as well. To some people, every Muslim's a terrorist. But that's not the way it is. It's good and bad and all.
How do you think like people, if somebody's been like Islamophobia, how do you think we should deal with it? Should we try to educate them or just get pissed off at them, get on their face or confront them or just talk on mellow?
I think sadly some of those people are beyond education.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry?
I think sadly some of those people are beyond education.
Oh, okay. Beyond.
Can't be educated because they've got so much deep in their head that they believe that, well, for some people, the extreme far right believe that the white race is the only race.
Wow. Yes. Wow, that's crazy. Another question I had was, because in the 80s, especially with Liberty and many other bands, spoke so hard against racism and fascism and confronting and doing all this physical brawls. But did you guys ever thought about, at that time, working with people from different community, like different culture and stuff? Did that happen in the 80s or no?
I think it did. I think it did. I mean, obviously, like a lot of the anti-racist groups now are sort of working in local communities as well.
Okay. Yeah, just wondering. That's all and stuff. So what are your plans when this is all over?
Well, I'm still working at the moment. I'm still working through this.
You're
classed as a worker.
Wait, what do you do for work that you're still working during this lockdown?
I work for a hygiene company, so we're doing lots of installs, and it's all hygienic stuff for bathrooms.
Oh, interesting. What are the other members of Liberty doing for work?
Mick is a gardener, so he's working still. So he works in a graveyard, I think. Luke is not working. Luke is a carpenter, and he's out of work at the moment because he might be back now. I don't know, but he was out of work because he got locked down. He couldn't go to work.
Wow.
Dale's a baker.
Dale's
a baker, and Nathan, I think, does some stuff with housing co-ops.
Wow, interesting. Okay, did you say Luke is a baker?
No, Luke's not. Dale is a baker.
Or what? Okay, I'm sorry. What does Luke do again?
He's a carpenter.
Carpenter. I don't get it. He's a black belt. How come he doesn't become a martial art teacher?
I don't know. You'll have to interview him and ask him that.
This is just wondering because I was looking at all these photos, it's black belt and all these crazy martial art and stuff. So during this lockdown, what have you been doing
Well, other than
besides
working,
working?
not a lot really.
Besides working.
Food shopping and listening to music, watching a few movies.
All right.
Yeah.
So what inspired you, music-wise and political-wise? Inspiration, like it could be books or a person or anything like that.
What inspired me music-wise? Joe Strummer inspired me.
From the
Bob Marley
Clash.
inspired me. Yeah, Bob Marley.
Wow.
A lot of the old Trojan stuff, the sort of Trojan reggae stuff. Lee Perry.
That's cool.
Uh,
I don't understand like Joe Strummer and the Clash. I mean, why does Crass attack Clash?
I think it's difficult because Steve was a really big Clash fan.
Oh,
Steve
really?
England's a really big fan of the Clash.
Oh,
He
really?
was, yeah. Yeah, and I just felt felt that the Clash had sold out because they signed to a major record label.
Do you think like bands who have like radical message, if they go into a major label, will get the message more wider and their benefits show will be much better? Do you think that at all?
I think it's catch-22. I think it can be done. That's if the major label are
Right.
are telling them the truth.
Okay. I was just wondering because like bands like Rage Against the Machine,
Yeah.
15 years ago, I don't know how many years ago was this. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is 2001 when all the anarchist black bloc got arrested and my friend got deported and stuff. They even though at that time Rage Against the Machine broke up, but they donated money to us and stuff, and said, well, hey, we saw this in the news. They donated money to us, and then Zach from Rage Against the Machine was doing a fundraiser, doing a solo project, even when they were big, to Sherman Austin, who was an anarchist who got busted and stuff, went all the way down to San Diego, did a solo benefit show for that and stuff like that. So I was just wondering when bands. Sometimes I wish some of the bands who had the radical message they got big, so they will continue to do that. So just wondering what your thoughts about that.
I think some bands feel that they can sort of expand that message by going to a bigger label.
Right.
And it really depends on how honest that bigger label are and if they're really interested in spreading that message or just making money.
Do you think that fame and money changes people, or it brings out the real you? It just brings out the
No, I
real
think
you.
it changes people.
Really?
I think it changes people, certainly. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, just wondering. We might have a little difference on that. Sometimes right.
money is the. No, I think it does change people. I think at the end of the day, I don't know. They say money is the root of all evil, and it is because some people, for money, enough is never enough.
Okay.
It's like I was going to say, how many houses can you live in at once? How many cars can you drive? How many TVs can you watch? It's like.
Right. Yes, that's true too. No, because the reason I'm asking this is I did see people who have a lot of money. As time went by, a couple of my friends who did really good in life, they will anonymously donate money to different causes. They will still keep in touch with the movement.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and do stuff. So just wondering. That's all.
Yeah.
Yes, but you might be right too on that too as well. That money changes people and makes them more greedy and stuff like that. Back to the punk scene. Where would you like to see the punk scene move to? Would you like to see it go more DIY, or have more big festivals, bring everyone together and stuff?
I think festivals can be good as long as they're run properly and by the right people.
Cool.
But then the DIY scene's very, very good. And what bands do on the DIY scene, they do really well.
Right. Cool. All right. Do you have any last comment or anything?
No, I think as a band, I think we'll continue to do what we do, and while there's injustice going on in different things, we'll always have something to say about it and stand up to it.
Can I tell you something crazy? It's just a story. In the early 90s, oh shit, I think it was early 90s, I was in a peace punk band called Autonomy. We have a 7-inch out. We had two singers, me and Sean. We're singing back and forth on the 7-inch called Faction of Mercy. We were really inspired by the early Liberty in the 80s.
All right.
The 7-inch you guys put out, the album you guys put out and stuff. I just want to let you know that we were really inspired by the Liberty, the band called Autonomy. I don't even have a copy. I don't even have a copy of the 7-inch myself either. I was thinking for it, but I don't even have it and stuff. But if I find a YouTube link, I will send it to you and stuff like that. But yeah, Liberty was a big major influence on me and long time ago, because it was so.
I think, if we can influence people, even if we're playing a gig and we get one person to question something they're doing, it's got to be good. So,
and it was because it was so like direct action, so forward. Message was so forward and stuff like that. So it was really cool.
And it was, and sort of without sort of giving too much away. Yeah, there was direct action.
Yes.
In many forms. So,
what would you give advice to folks who start bands? Do you have any advice for them?
Just keep going and do what you can. Sort of it's hard probably for some people. We were fortunate enough that we had bands like Colin Jerwood and Conflict to go and tour with or play with, and sort of get us gigs. Sometimes it's hard to get gigs, but just don't give up.
Right. Will we ever see Liberty in America in the future when this is all over?
Who knows? I don't know.
Have you?
I'd love to have come to the States and toured the States, but we'll have to see.
Have you guys ever tried? Just curious.
No.
Oh, okay. Just wondering. You guys should try though. So hey, this interview was less than an hour. Are you happy?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. Thank you.
That's great chatting.
Thank you very much. And I know you're still working. You stay safe. And
you take care. Yeah?
Much respect to the Liberty message from the 80s. I mean, some of the message was so direct and crazy, but it will always stay in my heart, live in my heart and stuff. Very inspirational in the 80s, with all the stuff you guys did and all that.
Cool.
And I hope you guys make new banners too. So in the future, when I see photos, I could look at the banners and all that.
We'll do one for you.
Yes. Thank you very much, and stay safe.
And you.
Yes. Thank you.
See ya.